So, Riley, Wolves and Wagers. So we're coming at you with our first MVP ladder for the NBA. Riley, I'll kick it over to you. We can jump right into our top 10 list.
Yeah, this is exciting. It's November 21st. We're doing our first ladder here, as Dalton said. We haven't seen each other's lists yet, so you might see some authentic, raw reactions here as we go back and forth. So it should be fun. Without any further ado, I'll start it off. A little bit of bias here. I do have Anthony Edwards in the 10 spot. Hasn't been great the last 3-4 games, but hard to not have a Timberwolf when they're the number one team in the West, arguably the best team in the league right now. Still putting up decent numbers overall, though, so I will slide him into the 10 spot.
Yeah, Ant just missed my list, and Cat is also crawling up that list. But at number 10, I do have LeBron. Yeah, another massive performance a couple nights ago. Got to give him his roses. I think a Laker has to be on this list as well as you kind of talked about it. Timberwolf has to be on this list. And then I'll kind of jump to my number 9, and I got another kind of old head, Kevin Durant. And he had another great night in that overtime performance. And he's averaging over 30 a night. So I still think he has to be in the top 10 on this list, right?
Yeah, he's also in my number 9 spot. Shout out to Kevin Durant. His teammate, as he plays more games, Book has played 5 games this year. I think Book will jump him in my ladder in future videos, but they could both be on the same list for me in the future as well. They could both be in the top 10. I have one team with 2 guys in the top 10, but it is not the Suns. Like I said, Book needs to play more games. I'll start with my number 8. I have LeBron there, so we do both have LeBron in our top 10 list. Hard to keep him off after the way he's been playing the last week plus, averaging like 26, 8, and 6, something like that. Lakers are currently in the 6th spot as well, so as they climb up the standings, it's hard to not have a Laker on here. Like you said, you could have had AD, but it's hard not to go LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of wild seeing 8, 9, 10 on my list be 3 former MVPs, but I got Curry in my 8th spot, and I know this is probably going to be a little lower than what you got him on your list. But a little bit of that is just health concerns. Outside of that, his numbers are fantastic, and I think he can easily jump my number 7 on my list, and that's Halliburton. He's coming off a horrible performance against Orlando, so I think he could fall out of my top 10 as early as next week, but I got him at number 7 right now, right?
Yeah, and I'm a Halliburton guy, so here's me 2 quick hot takes for you. Halliburton didn't make my list. He was on the outside looking, and I had him at about the 11th spot. Curry isn't even on my list. The Warriors are in the 9th spot right now. He's missed a couple ball games, so I said, you know what? I'm just not even going to have him on the list. Probably could have put him in 10 over Ant, probably should have, but I was like, you know what? I don't think he deserves it right now, and it's not necessarily his fault. That's more of a team thing. But at the end of the day, you got to win ball games, and I'm not going to have a guy who's currently in the 9th spot. His team's, in the 9th seed. I'm not going to have him on my list. Probably will be the next time we do a video, but as of now, he's just not. My 7 is going to be a young guard, Tyrese Maxey. His teammate will be on here further up the list, but I like Tyrese Maxey. He's super efficient from the floor, shooting like 44% from deep right now. As a second option, he's averaging 27 points a game. So he's got to be on this list for me.
Yeah, and he's not on my list. And I think a lot of that has to do with Joel being so high and him being an MVP last year. But number 6, I got Jason Tatum. And obviously you can probably have him in the top 5 because Boston is so nasty and he's the biggest part of that team. But I do have him at number 6 because I look at these top 5 names and I just can't put him over any of these top 5 in my list, right?
I also have him at 6, no disagreement there. Coming off a 45-point performance last night, so that was a nice ball. Yep. But they did lose to the Hornets. But overall, like you said, Tatum's the number 1 guy over there in Boston, and that team's disgusting. So he's got to be borderline top 5. We do both have him at the 6. Moving to my 5, I got Giannis. Not his best season statistically once Dame came in for one that's going to take from the points a little, but also the assists, right? Giannis's assists are way down compared to where they were, but he's still putting up huge numbers. I think he had 42 points last night, so he's just still going to be in my top 5.
Yep, I got Giannis at number 5. Couldn't have him any higher, which is crazy to think. And I'll jump right in the top 4 because I think everybody's interested to see where we kind of got our top 4. And at the 4th spot, I couldn't quite put him in this kind of elite level tier, but SGA, I know OKC is going to have their ups and downs this season in a tough Western Conference, but what he's doing is, I think, even above what Anthony Edwards is doing, and you got Ant at 10. So I'll put SGA 4 on my list for right now, right?
Also have him at 4. OKC is the 3 seed right now. They're 10-4, I believe, playing some good ball, and he's the ticker on that team. He makes them go. Outstanding ball player, super fun to watch. He also had like a 40-point performance not too many games ago. So I have him at 4 as well. Number 3 for me is a guy who I do think will be a guard to win an MVP here soon enough. I know it's kind of turning into a center award, which I don't love, but that's just the way analytics work. People look at all those nerdy numbers, and centers are going to have the most nerdy numbers just because they get all the rebounds and all that stuff and the defensive metrics. But Luka Doncic, he's at 3 right now. The Mavs are still in the 4 spot. I love the way he plays. You know, he could very easily average a triple-double in his career, which is kind of crazy to say, but we've seen Westbrook do it, and it wouldn't surprise me if Luka does at some point as well.
Yeah, and then number 3, I got the reigning MVP, and I know Maxey has been fantastic, and I said that I would take him over Halliburton on my team as the second best option, but not as the best option because Joel is that number 1 option. And so I got him currently at number 3, right?
Yeah, and my number 2 is going to be Joel. I have him 1 spot higher. I'm not a huge Joel guy just because of the way he plays as far as the foul baiting and stuff goes. It can be a tough watch sometimes, but this is 3rd straight year where he's leading the league in scoring. Will he finish as a league leader? Not sure, but as of now, he is. So have to have him on the list for sure, even though I don't love the way he plays.
Yeah, and then number 2 on my list is the guy that you have number 1, and I'll let you talk a little bit more about him, but I got Joker number 2 on my list.
Yeah, I still have Jokic 1. Kind of funny, last night I had a little parlay on him, and then he gets tossed in the second quarter. So that one got chalked pretty early, but he finished with like 9 points or something like that. But I still have him at number 1. Denver's the 2 seed in the West, but I almost hope that voters fatigue becomes a thing again, because it's kind of like those LeBron years in Miami, where if you took most valuable player in its literal form, it would have been LeBron for like 8 straight years. Probably would be the same for Jokic when you break it down, but I don't think the voters want to keep voting that way, and I hope they don't. But I do have him slated at number 1 for now.
Yeah, and even with the Mavs losing their last 2 games, which may I mind you, I mean, on the road against the Bucks and at home against Sacramento, which I know Sabonis was possibly going to make your list, but I still got Luka number 1. And I know voters fatigue can possibly become a thing with Joker, but even you take that out, I think numbers and importance to his team. I know if you take Joker out and Luka out, they both plummet in the West, but 38-8 on 50% shooting and 43% from downtown. I always told myself if Luka can shoot above even 38% from 3, that he's going to win an MVP. And when you're shooting 43%, and then on top of that, adding 8 assists a night, you take Luka off the Mavericks. I think they're the worst team in this league. You take Joker off the Nuggets. I do think they're a bottom feeder, but they're not the worst team in the league because the Mavericks would take that spot. But I think the biggest part of our list is I've given Tyrese Maxey a lot of love, and deservingly so. And you have for Tyrese Halliburton. And we actually had
flip-flopped
neither. Yeah, we flip-flopped them, which I think is something that I wasn't expecting. I thought you would have Halliburton even borderline top 5. But with his latest performance, he's going to bump down my list, and Tyrese Maxey might bump in. But any other thoughts from the top 10 Kia MVP ladder? I know Kia's not advertising this, but hopefully they would.
You mentioned Sabonis. When I did my first rendition, he was at the 10 spot for me, which I didn't love. But when you look at his numbers, 20, 12, and 7 don't jump off the page at you, but pretty good numbers for a big man, averaging 7 assists a game. So he just missed the list. But as Fox plays more games, I think Fox has also only played like 5 games this season. He'll bounce up over Sabonis in the standings for my rankings. But I have no disagreements with Luka at 1. I totally understand it. I mean, like you said, they are built around Luka Doncic. I get the Nuggets are as well, but I think it's easier to replace a great center than it is to replace a great guard. I mean, it's a guards league at the end of the day. You can go stick a big body out there and at least be somewhat productive, but it's hard to replace a guy like Luka Doncic. And like you said, they probably are the worst team in the league without him. So I like how you have him at number 1. No complaints about that at all. We'll keep doing these MVP ladders throughout the season, maybe once a week or once every couple weeks or something like that. But as always, we appreciate you guys for tuning in.